But you know this in our email.
Hello. He made him an offer, he can't refuse.
As you maybe know and well aware of the situation that we are in, we'll go a little bit into more detail here in a second. I'd like to thank our councilman, Nathaniel Martin, for showing up, and council appointee Mark McLean for showing up there. The purpose of the mayor special call meeting charter allows me to do this. As you know, this is the second meeting I've actually called for in the last. That is 10th. Get in place. Continue to operate the city, to continue to provide services and resources to residents, as well as the employees who most impacted as many side of their jobs here. Not have a quorum, and we didn't expect to have a quorum, but it is where I, as elected the CEO, I have to try. President's visit on the event. So we'll as last time, we'll turn this into a Q&A for at least a half an hour, as long as you'd like to sit around. My fingers crossed that another counselor shows up and then progress on getting appropriations in place. Let me say this, and then I'll go on Q&A. So the news was here this morning, and question came up as to whether or not we're going to make payroll tonight. Today is payroll. Those of you familiar with how we pay our employees, it is every 2 weeks, and our finance director is here. The pay period closed last Friday, which was December 30th. So we did close out those last 2 weeks in 2022. So from a perspective of paying them, we are paying them based on work that was done in 2022. So we have a lot of the payroll day, right? Our concern is 2 weeks from now. Which you hate to tell anybody they work this whole week. Okay, so we'll unless there's any comments prior to questions from the other council.
I have a quick, what I need to say is, a week ago, we tried to get budget passed for people to get paid. Regardless of whether me being the president, that's irrelevant to our employees We're moving the city forward. So I said, the most important thing we need to do is pay everybody. So that's why I'll be here today. I'll be back at 7 o'clock because the responsible thing that I must do, make sure people get paid. So this is a couple of meetings that you called, they don't show, for whatever reason. They're not bad people, but they have their own agenda. The agenda is right now, I don't think it's happening in this city. So keep us in prayer. I'm not gonna say any very negative things, but most important thing we need to do now is make sure. I will be back at 7 o'clock.
Council,
This is,
I can't hear you.
I don't have anything in particular to say, except that I too want, the people paid. I want to, bring integrity to the council. It's clear from last meeting that, a large segment of the population, at least who attends council meeting anyway, are not satisfied the way this council is operating. So, you know, we've got work to do. We've got people to take care of. To whom much is given, much is expected. And so I'm here to give as much as I can. I've been given so much. And I'm sure the council, individual council members want to give and want to make this place what it should be. In a jurisdiction that is operated by a certain segment of the population who've been downtrodden for years and years and years. We've got to respect the system, respect the law. And once we do that, I think things will turn around.
thank you. Okay, so now we're going to Q&A. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. This meeting was noticed and the agenda said started 2:30. Indicated you have no quorum.
Right.
This is something else, but you called the meeting for there being no quorum.
What is your question, Mr.
My
Fambro?
question is, have you stated?
Yeah, he said that we didn't have
You are here
it's a
for
question and
2:30
answer.
Meeting of council.
Right.
By the mayor,
Right.
but there's been no words concerning the fact you don't have a quorum. It's okay. to have a
He said at the
meeting.
beginning of the meeting
He
that we
said
didn't have a
it's-
quorum.
It's okay to have a meeting, but
Uh,
you can't call it a council meeting.
We didn't call it a council meeting.
And you have to state that you don't have a quorum to go into the council meeting. He said, that's all.
He say that again.
Let me say it again.
Say it again.
Please. If we could all listen and think about what you're hearing, and then the questions and what we can get more questions in that are relevant to what our concerns are. This, per the charter, is a special call meeting of council by the mayor. The charter allows. All councilors were notified at the record, all made aware. Second meeting we've had in the last 2 weeks. Just like the first meeting, call meeting, do not have the requisite number of councils here to have an official meeting. So, and as such, we will turn it into a conversation in which we will take Q&A, be here as long as the residents want to be here, answering any of their questions and or concerns.
Just wanted to hear it stated.
I stated it. That's why- Yes, question, please.
My question is, with the meeting being called at 7 p.m. tonight by the other members of council that are not present here right now, since they basically have a form of their group of people, and they're gonna probably talk about the budget that's needed for East Cleveland. If they raise their hand and say, yeah, nay, 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 or whatever they vote, maybe, however it goes, what happens then? What's the legal precedent for the residents, the voters, the mayor's office, East Cleveland, to get this budget passed so that the city can move forward? What is the precedent that needs to be done? Can we do an executive order? What can the residents do besides petitions to recall people and get new city council elected? Presently, earnestly, to move forward. Because I already know what they're gonna do at 7 o'clock. Cause I'm emotional. I will not.
So thank you for your question. Is it okay if I sit down? Or you want me to stand up? Doesn't matter. Okay. Okay. No worries. Let me see if you can hear. Can you hear me in the mic? Is that okay? So what has to happen, and this is per the charter, legislation has to come from the law department in order for it to be proper legislation. So this has happened in years past where council would try to draft their own legislation and then pass it, and that's not the proper procedure, not the proper format. If council created a document that they then send through the proper channels and then it comes back down to council, formatted from the law department, then it could be considered proper. And until then, it can't be. So we're not sure what the 7 o'clock meeting will entail and what documents they may be set to look at and consider. But chances are they don't have a proper appropriations document to pass. So we are exploring a number of different options as to what are the alternatives and how do we move forward. Understanding that per the Green Bible, as it's called, you need 2 reads. And on your second read, you need 3 votes to pass legislation. The 2 reads must be 14 days apart. As an emergency, you need 4 counselors to pass a legislation. And again, it has to be formatted from the law department. It has to be given a number, right? In order for it to be considered a proper document. My understanding is council doesn't have a clerk at this point. So I'm not sure how they would even hold the meeting. But it is my duty to you, businesses and the employees, to try to get appropriations passed so that we can continue operating. Yes.
I
please.
just want to, on the clerk situation, can you hear me? The new council president terminated both clerks. Tracy Udrea Peters and Patricia Park were terminated a couple of days. So there is no clerk that I know of. Right. He terminated.
Mayor Brandon,
Yes.
I know I'm not the only one in here, but I'm feeling some kind of way and it's not really good. But with this nonsense that's going on with city council, it's all over the news. We look bad. Nationally. Okay. It was stated that there are so many millions of dollars that says on account, that is not, that says other. That they want to know what other means. In any country, state, world, budget people, there has to be money that is set aside in case of emergencies. Am I right or wrong?
Yes, you're right.
Therefore, is it just an explanation of other that they're looking for? Or is the real intent of city council as it stands now with Corrine Stevens as president, Oviatt, Juanita, and I'm calling them out. Go ahead. Agenda, their true agenda is to overthrow the mayorship, have power, and to keep us hostage to their matter.
Thank you for that question and thank you for those statements. My personal opinion, think that yes, it is their attempt to try to hijack this government and take power and control of the government. If you look at other cities, other municipalities, if you look at their appropriations, and the one we always refer to is South Euclid, right? They pass a very simple appropriations, right? To allow for expenses that may not be in clear sight. So the appropriations are passed in December. In December of 2019, there was no such thing on anyone's appropriations as PPE, personal protection equipment, which due to COVID, if I'm not mistaken, we spent over $60,000 that year on COVID-related cleaning, equipment, supplies, that when we set the budget, there's no way you can account for that. So it gets captured in another, right? Please understand that our finances are online. What we're spending money on is public information. It's online, but you can't put it out before it's done. You can't know that your vehicles are going to break down before they break down to account for how much money you're going to spend throughout the year on repairs, right? We don't know when the roof is going to start leaking, and we have plenty of those that we have to address, but you can't appropriate for, so that's how it gets captured in other. I believe that answers it. Our finance director is here. Charles, is there anything you'd like to say in that regard?
Come over here so you can hear you.
I need to.
Okay.
So I'm going to the Cleveland Heights website. Because Cleveland Heights also put the financial information online. And I'm looking at Cleveland Heights legislation they did to pass their 2023 appropriations. And I want everybody to see this. This is their amendment at the top of 2022. Here's ordinance 168-2022. An ordinance to make appropriations for the current expenses and other expenditures for the city of Cleveland Heights for the period of January 1, 2023, to December 31st of 2023. This is their normal legislation document signed by the mayor, clerk of council, and the president of city council. I'm gonna make this bigger for you so everybody can see this. So this is the budget that they passed. These are the categories that the city council of Cleveland Heights passed appropriations. Do you see this category called other financing uses?
Yes,
Yeah, I
Do
see it.
anybody know what that means?
anything that happens that comes up is money that's there in the budget to
They,
cover any expenses, anything that comes, anybody with a little bit of.
they're appropriating on one line item, they're appropriating $2.4 million, and I haven't gone down. We got 1.2, 1.5. This is normal financial municipal way of passing appropriation. You want to know the details, I provide them every month. City council online, if they want to come in and see it, I have to walk through the line. This is nothing unordinary. $5 million right there.
That money does not go to Brandon King. Can you
No,
please tell
no,
me?
it doesn't go to the mayor. So, you go to any other city, you'll see the same thing. It's normal. Not unusual. If you explain to one of the counselors, Ms. Behoviak, via email of what other mean. She never confirmed, never said that she understood. So if there's still some issue or other, they could call other counselors in the in the other
They can
cities.
call
You don't have to believe me. You don't have to believe the mayor. Ask other counselors how their appropriations are passed. And they'll tell them just like this. They'll look at ours and like, yeah, that is about how we pass ours. I don't know what else to say.
So that was good. And I think you were right on that it's a misdirection and a lack of understanding of finance, financial documents, and the misdirection and the want to take over. Power stroke. Yes, sir. Ernest Smith, how are you, sir? Yes, sir.
Very important that you understand this. They know exactly what other mean. They know they can knock on the finance director's door. It's very simple. He not only sent in that email, he's printed it out. He's explained it multiple times. Like Richardson said, but I'm gonna keep piling it to you. You have to understand, this is a planned takeover of the city. Here, it's not about that ward. Like I said, my hope and pray whoever sitting in that seat is the greatest council person of all time, so we can support that person. It's not about me. But understand this, we've been sitting around for too long, letting it happen. Period. This is a plan. All they have to do is knock right on that door. This man right here, stop me if I'm lying, has no problem giving anyone the information. They know other can be pencil, ink pen, filler, ink. Who's gonna type all that out in a municipal? There's no room to type it all out, so we put other. And as you can see, other cities, millions of dollars in others. We have to start cutting these people off as soon as they start talking. Period. We have to risk, listen, our lives are at stake. Our lives are at stake. It cannot just be a few of us talking. Hey, I understand that we don't like talking to our neighbors and all that. We have to get back like it used to be when I was younger, growing up on Hayden Avenue. And everyone talk to their neighbors. And I mean, you don't have to be best friends nowadays, but these people sought out the individuals who don't pay attention.
Yes.
You see everybody in this building the other day, ones that pay attention, not like anything that's going on up there. We have to reach out to the ones that, and I'm pretty sure that they are great people. They don't care. Some of them are frustrated. Some of them know that they see people flip flopping and all that, like that young man behind the camera. They see a guy with aliases and all this walking around with that with lies, and I mean, this is politics. This is politics. But they walking around like it's high school. We was at the meeting the other day. It's time for our lives are on the line already. You see, I tell them, take me to jail. Because when I know I'm right, I'm going to stand on it. I'm telling you again. I've been sitting right up there next to them. They know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly what other is. They know exactly if they don't, they could call upon this gentleman and he has no problem telling them. None. If they have community development problems, they can go to that man right there, downstairs. He has no problem sharing information with them. We've all seen it. They have a packet full of information. They flip the paper saying, I have no information. We need to jump up and start calling them on that. We've been supporting the police, the fire, all 9 departments. We pay taxes. It's later for being quiet. Even the police officers understand, we just have to treat them with care if they have to put us out because they're doing their job. But they have to understand too, we live here, we care about this. And I'm not just saying this here, but we have a chief who I truly understand. I mean, who I truly believe he under in the Hoper stand. And just to let my people know on this record, the underground attack of me have begun again. I don't know how many of you got that goofy email this morning. But first of all, I got a call the other day. I'm in the bed. I got a call the other day talking about something going on at my place. I'm in the bed. I do not operate a bar. I can have company. That is my community office. Free clothes, free food, free school supplies. And if I want to have company, I can have company. But I'm just letting you know now, if I get attacked again, it's a skeleton out here. It's something coming because I'm not going to be quiet
Anymore.
No, anymore. I've been quiet for 14 years. The people need to say no more. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
How y'all doing?
If I could piggyback off of that, give me 60 seconds. Let me piggyback off that as I look at Mr. Fambro. At Mayfair on election day, Mr. Fambro. You said once the people speak, you was gonna end all the fight. You was gonna end all the trying to destroy whatever mayor is there. Mr. Fambro, we stood, your hand in front of your face, I can't see your eye. I wanna look you in your eye, because we talked at Mayfair. And you said once the people speak, you was gonna end all that. Is that what you said to me at Mayfair on election day? Is that what you said to me?
If you mean people speaking is the vote.
The vote.
Right.
Once the people speak, you were done with it. You were done with the fight. You were gonna now work to move this city forward.
People spoke. I haven't seen you since.
Now you're seeing me, and I'm just reminding you of what you said. This is my first time seeing you. I'm just reminding you of the conversation we had. I said that once they speak, now you're gonna work to help move this city forward. They spoke. Now I'm asking for your help. I'm asking you to be a man of your word. As we looked at each other in the eye then, and we look at each other now, right? Work. I'm asking you to help work to move this city forward. Be a man of your word. I'm sorry, go ahead, please.
All right, listen, y'all, I want to say this to everybody in here, right? I want to say this to the police. I wish the fire department, the people was here too. If the budget don't pass, y'all don't get paid. But we all in this community together, right? Y'all want to learn how to build power from the ground up? I do that. We got to start being a community standing together. Please don't put me on the camera, Frambo. Please take me off the camera. We got to stay in the community. We got to start standing up, man. We got to start putting it together. You know 10 people? You know 10 people? We need to start putting them together. What I'm gonna do in the city of East Cleveland from now on, we're gonna start having the policy advocacy class out here. Teaching people about building power, teaching people about what's going on in the political world. Getting y'all woke, getting that mental ready. Because right now, what we're going through, man, we're going through a battle, man, because people miserable, people unhappy, people want power. They think that we work for them. They're not working for us. And we need to hold them accountable, man. They gotta start about working, man. My thing is, man, people don't realize I get out in these streets, man. I get a lot of people signing petitions. I don't want to really do a recall. I want people to just open up, man, and start working together, moving the city together, man, build it. But the recall come, I'm gonna stand with it and I'm gonna help. Because y'all hurting the people. People talk about where the money going. Service department. The biter broke down. What, $25,000 to fix the biter? It's things that break down and y'all ask where all that extra money go. Y'all hurting, they hurting people. You even told me, once the people speak, that you was gonna stand on it. The same time when one council didn't want to pay you, that man stood up and made sure you got paid.
4 years later.
Yeah, but he stood on it though. But my thing is though,
My
man, y'all
first
can't.
year,
but see-
my first year, I paid you. My first year as mayor, I paid you.
But my thing is, don't nobody want to stand together, man. Everybody want to sit back. Everybody want to be in power. But y'all forget though, the people is the power, and we about to speak up. We about to speak up. They talk about they want to take the government over. We taking our damn city back. Everybody is ready.
Yes, please.
I want to know why Kareem Stevenson hasn't been arrested for damaging the property of the city.
Good question. Excellent question.
That's a good question. That information and video has been sent to the proper authorities and it is under review. And that's all I can say at this point.
Man,
Yes.
I
Yes,
just
please.
wanted to reiterate the point again, because that's what I like to do, driving into South Euclid. See, this is their appropriations.
Look how simple that is. That is easy.
So in the police department alone is $718,000 categorized as other charges. So anybody that friend of these counselors who doesn't seem to understand why where it's being hidden other counselors across the nation, do their due diligence beforehand, and when they get these appropriations, there's no question. There's no mystery. There's no wondering somebody's trying to steal any money or hide any money. This is how appropriations, the East Cleveland Fiscal Commission understands this is how appropriations are passed. If it wasn't, they would have said something.
Right.
Question
Yes.
on what you just, okay, now that's South Euclid, right?
Yes.
And their others are like everything they used to do. Why come ours can't be like that? So we won't get no questions, stupid questions about what other evil.
Well, it says other charges, they are still, I mean,
They would still do that. Our counselors, and understand, even though that says that, you can go to South Euclid and ask them for the month registry. And it'll show you every check that was written, right? And where the check went. And then they just account it to the other. So fire hydrant, other charges, 398,000. Other charges under the fire hydrants, they may have painted the fire hydrants. They may have charged for the outside flushing or repair of the fire hydrants. And all that'll be captured in the individual checks that are written against that. But you don't want to say under the fire department hydrants, we're going to spend $3 on painting them, $2 on flushing them, and another 50 cents on fixing them after we flush them. Instead, you capture all of that in other. Yes.
Comment. I thank you and I appreciate you for coming into my community, on my street, helping us get some things done.
Thank you.
I applaud you for the vision that you have for East Cleveland.
Thank you.
I applaud that.
Thank you.
When you first came into office, what was the budget looking like? And who did it?
Right. Right.
So.
So many of you remember when I first took office, we were roughly 2.5 million in debt, 2.5 million in deficit. About 5 million we had bills. I remember going to Best Equipment. Best Equipment would take our vehicles, they would analyze them, they would say what's wrong with them. And then they would say, okay, $3,500. You want us to fix it? Send us the check first. Remember that, Charles? And then if we wanted to get it fixed, we had to contact the fiscal supervisor before we could write the check. Right? After we put in enough work, right? And I gotta commend Charles and the finance department because I couldn't have did it by myself, right? Best equipment now will take and give us net 30, which is the standard procedure. The fiscal commission no longer requires us to notify them when we're writing a check, $3,500. And we got to get approval, but that's where we were when I took over as the chief executive officer here. We're in a much better financial place now. And I'm sure you all remember the story about the fiscal cliff. So.
I remember we didn't have a fire truck until you got in a proper working fire truck.
That's right.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
you touch on them lines to the people the other day saying, because we've been since we are in fiscal emergency, we've been passing budgets before the charter. So you want to touch on that a little bit because they tried to get their point across while you weren't here the other day. And I was trying to be good, so I didn't jump up and say anything. As soon as I came in, I was already, sit down, like I'm a terrorist or something. So can you touch on that? Because they told the people, you can't pass the budget until the first Monday of the month, but we are in fiscal emergency and I've been on council, we didn't wait till what the charter secretary did, different circumstances. You want to touch on that for the people?
So thank you. And I'm going to ask Nate to also chime in on that because Nate has been with the city for a number of years, and Nate is all too familiar with the city being in fiscal emergency. And being in fiscal emergency, we are not in complete control of what we can and can't do with city finances. The fiscal commission requests that by the end of the year, we pass a permanent appropriation every year. That's what they ask us to do.
I would say that what we've done is make sure that we get a budget passed. Because I think it's horrendous that we don't pay our, not only the police and fire, but the other employees in such a negative, and the media's all over negative stuff when it comes to East Cleveland. So we have consistently, while we've been on the fiscal mission, I've been, years ago, we've been on the fiscal mission, and now the last, 5 or 6 years, so we passed the budget. That's why we called 2 special meetings to pass the budget, and the hell with me being voted out of the presidency, the hell with that. We've got to pass the budget so people get paid. They don't show. Now they'll show up, the 3 of them, like they came in the other day, like they're on a power trip, and then they'll do it at 7 o'clock, okay? 7 o'clock, all right. They're delivering notices to my house. Sometimes they put them in the front door. I don't go in front, I go inside door. The other day it was 2 and I have them right here. So I'm committed to making sure people get paid. Okay. I'm not gonna say any negative about them. Their situation stands for itself. Stands for itself. No, I'm not. Corrine Stevens is the president now. Okay. But let me say this. This is the person, it's the new Ward 3 council person following the charter. I did it right. And they can't change that unless we go to court and the court say I did it wrong. Not Latique, and he's not a bad person, but this is the new Ward 3 council person. Okay. And,
Why was the bad?
well, because they want to do what they want to do. Okay, and they did it. Okay, so right now, he can sit up here or whatever, but we did it right. And I guess for all the experience, I know the wisdom is if you're not sure about something, you get a legal advice. And we went through the legal thing. The law director said, Martin, you did it right, they did it wrong. He is the Ward 3 council person. And I go on record, you want to say it? And he
say something about that.
yeah, and let me say something before you say that. He has a 20-something year law background. So he knows law. So go ahead.
Well,
Martin McLean.
not only a 20-year law background, but I've worked in the council office as clerk. 2 years
Yes.
ago. I was prosecutor here. I was acting judge, so I got on the bench when Una Keenan could not make it. So I know East Cleveland. I have worked in the community. I used to get kids from this community and in programs, take them sailing, take them on Lake Erie, give them something they hadn't experienced before. Now I have helped to finance community people through the Cleveland Foundation and the Neighbor Up program for things they wanted to do. So I've lived in this city for 20 years. And the only reason I moved out because I had a stroke and I couldn't walk up the stairs. So I decided to come back. I've been back over a year. First they said I wasn't here a year.
Yeah.
Then I proved them wrong with that. Then they decided to misconstrue the charter by saying that I had to be here within a year. Only twice. There weren't 2 elections when I was here. So, I mean, it's ridiculous. I got a call from Pat Bohoviac today. And she asked me, are you still contending that you belong in that seat? And I said, why wouldn't I? And I asked her, did you all consult a lawyer when you read that charter? Because it's clear what it said. And then she hung up. So, this is the kind of stuff that I'm going through. But, and I know Lateef. I've known him for years. A friend of mine, I gave him a job so a long time ago. But I have reviewed everything Martin did. And I compared what he did with the charter. And so he did it right. So I don't feel as if I have to go anywhere.
Excellent. Thank you. Law Director or Assistant Law Director?
Yes, as to that particular charter provision, section 99, what it says is that you have to be a resident of the city of East Cleveland for a year and a qualified elector. What they tried to do the other night is say that because he wasn't a qualified elector for a year, that he wasn't eligible. If the founders of that provision wanted those requirements to work in tandem, what it would have said is you have to be a resident of East Cleveland and a qualified elector for a year. So all the charter requires is that you be a resident of East Cleveland for a year and be eligible to vote. It doesn't require a vote. That's not the way it's written. If they wanted it to read that way, if they wanted both of those to be prerequisites, they would have written it before for a year, not after. So what Nathaniel Martin did the other day when he swore in Mark McLean was proper. He was still council president at that time. The 30 days had already passed and he had every right to appoint him to that seat. And they cannot unseat him by misinterpreting the statute.
Excellent.
And one other point, before I sit down, there's a faction out there, or people who go out in public and make all kinds of statements. We're here talking about the budget. But there are people out there who are spinning this narrative that they passed the budget. They passed the budget 3 weeks ago, and they're saying this all online, on Facebook, in different groups. If they passed the budget 3 weeks ago, we wouldn't be sitting here. If they passed the budget 3 weeks ago, there wouldn't be a meeting tonight at 7 o'clock. There wouldn't have been a meeting last week at 6:30. So you've got two different things going on because you have people who do not live in East Cleveland, do not work in East Cleveland, who are out there, who are helping the people who are trying to grab the power, spin whatever narrative they want. They count on the people of East Cleveland to be ignorant
Yes.
of the law, to
Yes.
be ignorant of what's going on. And that's why these meetings are important. Because if you don't understand what's going on, you'll hear what they're saying. Oh, we don't know where the money's going. We don't know where it's going. And you go, oh, I don't know where it's going. Well, now you understand how that works. Spread the word.
Thank you. Thank you.
Just believe what I heard until I start investing my time and stuff and getting to
Yes.
know for
Yes.
myself.
Thank you.
For myself and figuring out for myself and investigating for myself. You know what I'm saying? So
When you run across one of their supporters, I want you to, because I know, everybody already asked themselves in this room, why did it take them 4 times to do the appointment? Library, and all of a sudden 3 times here. Why was anyone's name on the swearing in sheet already? I believe most of us in this meeting right now has seen an official meeting of an appointment. Let me give you an example. When we appointed Che Gaddis, went into executive session, met with all of the candidates, came out of executive session and voted right in front of the people. We went down the line. Remember, Juanita got upset that Joy didn't appoint, didn't vote for her. Did it right here in the open. How do you vote? You say yay and nay, yay and nay, yay and nay, yay and nay, right in the open. It's clear that they're trying to do an underground takeover. Now, everyone in this room understands. The mission is to get I'll be nice to say our neighbors to understand. That's the mission. It has to be. Like she just say, it's a big population, and I just say of people who don't pay attention. I'm pretty sure they are nice people. I used to didn't pay attention. So they get told anything, oh, the budget is already passed. Well, they meet what they supposed to meet again tonight to do it again.
7 o'clock.
Is that not the 5th time on the budget, but what, the third time on the budget?
Let me go to Che. Let me reiterate. We need to help our neighbors get informed as to what is going on inside of our government. Yes, Ms. Gaddis.
Good afternoon, Mayor. Thank you for allowing me to speak, Councilor Martin, newly appointed Councilor McLean, Attorney McCullough, and Director Ian. I wanted to bring up something I don't think anybody has really touched on. I wanted to actually piggyback off of what you said, Councilor Martin, about the media.
Okay.
And also what you said, Mayor King, about moving the city forward. One of the things that I think we prided ourselves on when we were sitting on council, and I think you can attest to this, is that we presented a unified front, not only to the people of East Cleveland, but to the world. I think that we forget, because our community is so small, that what goes on, the circus that goes on, the attacks, the lies, that it stays within these city limits, not realizing that every time, you broadcast, every time someone plants a story, every time, it goes beyond the city of East Cleveland. And that destroys our credibility as a city, as a functioning government and governmental instrument. For example, we need developers to come into the city. We need to draw businesses into the city. Now, based on what we see in the media, and it's always perpetuated and initiated by the same few, based on what you would see as an outsider. Would you have faith in our government? Would you have faith that, we could effectively manage millions of dollars in developmental monies? No, you would not. So I want people to understand that not only is it holding up the budget, but it is destroying us. It's destroying our image. It's destroying our brand as a city. And no one really will take us seriously, and no one will ever consider us a serious player until we understand that everything that's communicated, whether positive and or negative, whether true or false, most of it, I have to say, has been false, again, perpetuated by the same few people destroys the whole community.
Thank you.
Very irresponsible. So I would like everyone to just keep that in mind. And those people who, insist on perpetuating the narrative that our mayor is stealing money, correct me if I'm wrong, they said the same thing about the mayor before you and the mayor before him and the mayor before that. So this is a narrative that's been perpetuated for at least 20 years. And we've sat on council. So if there was money, I didn't see that money. Did you, Counselor Smith? This big pot of gold that. Wow. So, let's just be mindful of perpetuating negative, false narratives. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for those kind words. Yes, sir.
Assistant Law Director in Prosecutor.
You would know the outcome if someone is unethical in the council, man or woman position. When,
You would know the outcome?
you would know, yeah, like if they were unethical in that position, or if they did something unlawful in that position, you would know the outcome, right? Like the charges that could be brought against them.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And do you feel, in your personal opinion, the meeting the other day was unethical? And on how some council people acted?
There is a very big question about their ethics, and I believe that is being looked into as well as potential criminal charges. However, because we work here, we want to send that out to others so that we don't look like we're doing anything unethical. We don't want it to be said that there's any kind of vendetta or we're just doing it for political purposes. So we let outside agencies look over the evidence, look over the videos, and determine whether or not a criminal charge ought to be filed. But we send it over because we highly question their behavior.
Yes, and another thing, just the procedure that happened with this council, that was totally out of line. And, that was unlawful in itself. If they wasn't supposed to do that, that shouldn't have happened. And they should have had knowledge of that, and they still move forward in doing that, which makes them eligible in breaking the law, correct?
At this point, with the exception of Councilor Bahoviak, all of those people have been on council for a few years at this point. They understand the agenda, they understand the council meeting process. It was not being followed. Nathaniel Martin brought up the fact that they were not even following the agenda.
Yeah.
The law director tried to emphasize that they were not following the agenda.
Yeah.
They were both shut. Matter of fact, not only was he ignored, your council president was threatening to throw the law director out. So it was clear that they had their own agenda that they were going to follow. They were going to shut down anybody who said anything different, and they were going to do what they wanted to do. So we let it ride, but there was nothing lawful about what took place.
All right, and one more thing. Yeah. When the council meets about something, they have to meet all together, right? Not 2 council people here, 3 council people there. They have to all meet as a group and discuss something, right?
Well, what you need in order to pass something is a quorum. You can have a meeting that's called by 2 councilors. Anything beyond 2 needs to be public and all that, but,
Okay.
they can meet, they don't have to have all 5 people.
Okay.
And it takes 3 for a quorum, right?
Correct.
To pass legislation.
So you have,
Unless it's an emergency measure, then it.
yes, then it takes 4, and with that, you have to understand the sunshine laws and you have to abide by them. So in order to have an official meeting of the city council of the government, it has to follow these rules. So you have to post it, you have to post the agenda 24 hours before the meeting.
At least 12.
Posted means, like over the years, we've been putting it on the front door, we've been putting it on the thing outside, send it over to the library, put it on the website, and then there is a list of people that they send it to. That's posted 24 hours, and you need at least 3 counselors to be present.
And can I say that they chose not to utilize their own staff to post these meetings that they were having.
Right.
Well, they sure posted it to my phone.
And they have
That's
that.
not, but there's an email list. There were people who said, I want to be notified whenever there's a council meeting. So there's that list. That was in the possession of the council clerk that they fired. Then there's the website. They didn't post it on that either, but that's also something that the council clerk would do. So these are activities that can be utilized by the person that they hired to do it, and they deliberately chose not to go through that person
Yes.
and then have the meeting and fire them.
So she's talking about every meeting before Tuesday when they changed presidents and then they fired the two employees
Two
that they had,
clerks,
two
right.
clerks that they had. Yes, so I see a couple questions. Let's go here and then here.
Is it in court about you?
Me?
Yes.
No, it's not. Not
But
yet.
don't you have to go to court to make sure?
Well, right now, I'm considered to hold the seat. And so I think it's incumbent upon the other side to go to court, file a mandate to change that.
Yes.
And
So
I don't think they really want to do that.
So that's the way it works. So we have a legal opinion from the law director that the charter was followed, the proper procedure was followed, and that this is the recognized Ward 3 appointed counselor. Right? So anyone contesting him being the recognized counselor has to take it to court.
But can I say this?
Yes.
When I had my interview, well, I had two interviews. I had one with one side and one with the other side. And I had an interview with the counselors who were not here. And there was a telling question they asked me. They said, how would you handle working with three bosses? Yeah. How would you handle working with three bosses? And my response was,
Just like,
I'm not working for three bosses. I work for the city of Cleveland. He just said you should be working, East Cleveland, just says you should be working with the people of East Cleveland. We work for them. This lady knows that there was a famous servant leader. And that's what we should be. We should serve as leaders. We should be serving the people.
Yes, yes.
that's what we paid.
Yeah,
that's
let's serve the people. And one other thing. There's a group that'll be coming here April 14th to 27th. From Harvard, Harvard Business School and Harvard Kennedy School of Public Policy. And they will be offering their help to this city.
Excellent.
And it's possible that they can form a long-term relationship. These are people who just graduating from the Kennedy School of Public Policy. One of them have to be my son, who would really want to help this city flourish.
Wow.
And,
Yeah.
So I hope that you all will be here so you can talk to these.
That would be great. We would love to talk to him. Yes, thank you. Yes. Okay.
Give us a little input if you can on the progress of the Metro Park still coming into East Cleveland with, like Shay said, with all this negativity with city council and how East Cleveland is, and also with the new development division that's coming through East Cleveland. Has that affected that relationship or those relationships?
So there's,
How
Oh.
does the negative media affect your ability to govern?
so long, complicated answer to that. And the Councilman Martin can tell you this, because I've had him in meetings with us, and he's heard it for himself, how outside people or entities, nonprofits, government with resources have looked upon the city and have been standoffish in past years as to whether or not to put their resources into the city because of the turmoil of the government, basically the legislative branch fighting the administrative branch, right? And this goes back, this just didn't begin with my administration, right? So I've taken Councilman Martin, and he's heard it for himself. One of the things we've been able to do as an administration is to maintain a number of the relationships that we've had, right? And we're lucky and very fortunate that we've worked with our new county executive when he was at UCI. We worked closely with him, trying to bring in resources into the city, understand what he's doing in Case Western Reserve. And we look forward to continuing to work with him and work with that county to get that done. In regards to the metro parks, one of the things I didn't mention, and we did it on purpose, maybe last 2 weeks of December, you may have noticed a number of cars parked outside of the high rise by your road, right? That was the phase 1 and phase 2 study. They were in the building, combing through the building. Now, we didn't mention it, and please forgive me, but I didn't want to have someone up there, right, with the news, oh, they doing this, they doing that, just and try to sabotage the study, because the study will dictate the funds to then tear it down. So the study is now done, and we are anticipating that coming down and furthering the negotiations with the metro parks for them to take over. We are still in the process of them going through the deed restriction as it came from the Rockefeller family, old language, right? And it's a long document, but yes, we are still moving forward with that. And know and understand 2 things. One, I keep saying, Shaw alumni will get that whole week written into the agreement, and then the agreement still needs to come back in front of city council to be done. I can't sign off on it. I don't, it has to come back in front of city council. So it will be reviewed. And we have formed a committee, a small committee, to kind of talk through things that we'd like to see in this agreement, or them managing the park moving forward. Yes, sir.
Okay, I want to say something, but I need to say this and people need to hear it. I'm gonna set up and say it. I got stopped by a couple of people and they said, what's the issue going on with you, Martin? And what I heard was from me, see about 4 or 5 people, they said the biggest complaint they have about me is that I work with the mayor. I'm gonna say it again. The biggest complaint they have about me, that I work with the mayor. And I said, why wouldn't I work with the mayor? That's their biggest complaint about me, that I work with the mayor. All right,
Yeah,
go ahead.
you mentioned the park and the metro parks, taking over. I am the chairman of the board for the organization called Black Environmental. And we have been talking consistently. I think we have a meeting the 17th about the metro parks. We are really pushing this thing, and we have gotten assurances from metro parks that they're going to do it. They just have to work out the details.
Yes.
So it will be, well, yeah.
What resources do we need? Really? What resources do we need? We don't need nothing from the metro parks. We can take care of the parks ourselves.
Well,
So we actually, so, no, we don't. So back,
Having that relationship with metro parks is more than what you can see. It goes beyond the vision of it just being a park.
Let me,
If you walk through that park now, you see all those trees down, trees falling, it's actually dangerous to walk through that park because there are trees falling down, disease trees. And they provide money, they're providing money for new bathrooms. They're providing a lot of services that it would be hard for this city with everything else going on.
So, do that come out of their pocket? Or
Let me-
you gotta-
let me ask some, let me add a little bit to that. This is a great note. So I'm glad you brought this up. It's a great question. So I believe it was 17 when we first sat down with Metro Parks. And after that, we went up to McGregor and asked for a grant to do a study. And I have the document upstairs if you care to review it. And the document goes over what it would take to restore this park. As Councilman alluded to, that park is not functional. No, that park is not, but that park is actually dangerous. It's actually dangerous. Grandpappy Hill needs a lot of maintenance in order to use it, right? What the study came back with was that that park, and it's now, if we add inflation and interest on, be about $24 million to restore that park. And I can't remember what the yearly maintenance of the park is. Now remember what Edgewater looked like. And I haven't been to Euclid Creek, but they tell me it's amazing. I've been to Acacia, and they did a fantastic job up there and some of the other parks that they now manage. And keep in mind, over at Edgewater, they have programming, right? So they'll have concerts, fairs and stuff. We simply do not have the resources to do that in-house. No, over the last, I believe I was on council, that was 14, we turned over the management of that park to the East Cleveland Parks Association and Gordon Hay and his team, and they've done a fantastic job. And that was my first year on council. So no, we could not manage that park.
No one would think, wouldn't be able to get out of debt. What happened? They would manage that, right? So I think we'd be able to manage the park on our own. All it is, some concrete, fix that, the pavement, parking lot. What's for a team of the community, to get together, to get out there and cut some grass. We can hire, a tree trimming company to come on in and tear down the trees. They can take the trees with them and make whatever furniture they need to make.
Let me give
You know what I mean?
one example.
You gotta know, it's knowledge, and you gotta know about different things you'll be able to do them yourself. One person can't do everything. You need a team. But if the team have enough knowledge to make it happen, you can make it happen under their umbrella.
Let me give you an example. There's swans over there. There are
They come and
all
go.
kinds of birds, yeah. The pond, do you know where the water comes from the pond? It comes from storm water. Somebody dumped some chemicals in the sewer and killed a 60-year-old turtle.
Yep.
A
60-year-old
turtle. 60-year-old turtle. See, you gotta have experts to monitor all of that. And that costs money. Yeah.
I agree.
So-
That costs money, but not to maintain and operate and keep the upkeep. We can, make some room on the budget for employees to keep the park up and going.
You can put it up.
I love your enthusiasm and your optimism, but as we put it down on paper, we could not manage that park. And it was the former administration that noted it and turned it over. Trust me, we'd have to show it to you financially, and the finances dictate we could not. 24 million is what it's gonna take to reach. So how do you get it restored?
It takes time. It takes time. It took you time to get us out of the position we're in. A year or two for a community to come together and get up there. How many people got lawnmowers? Telling me we can't get up there as a community, or we can cut the grass?
I love your optimism. I love your optimism. Yes, but it's bigger than that. Yeah.
If our officials can't pull it together, you see what I'm saying? It takes the community who the officials supposed to work for, you know, to come together and make that happen.
And our community don't want to pull together the people, three assholes that are holding up the budget and ain't working together.
It's a process to do that. Because if you want no process, they just got arrested that day. Our officers can't arrest them even though they broke the law the other day at the meeting. Our own officers can't arrest them.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? An outside officer gotta come in and arrest them.
So let's do this because I really appreciate your optimism. How about, right? We get you in and we sit down and we come up with a strategy to restore, revitalize, and bring back online some of the other parks. Now, keep in mind, Metro Parks is just taking Forest Hill Park. We still have Patterson, Hastings, and about another half a dozen parks, Man Park, that we can utilize your strategy and do that. And I believe that if we start off small and we can do that, prove it successful, then we can come back and revisit taking over a behemoth. And I do mean behemoth like Forest Hill Park, sorry. Yes.
Okay. Now, the last meeting we had, right? They put in the badge first. And it's incumbent on you to file on that, right? Because.
No, let me state it again. So way we operate, we get a legal opinion from the highest legal mind in the land, which will be our law director, Willa Hemmings. The legal opinion states that the charter was followed, right? We dot all I's and cross all T's, and that Mark McLean is the legally recognized Ward 3 representative. So we're fine, right? Because that's who we recognize. Anyone who wants to challenge that has to take us to court.
But that's not what I'm asking. Are you gonna challenge that because it was done incorrect?
Okay, challenge him in what way, shape, or form?
Because they said he's Ward 3 council,
No,
and they was for me.
let me say this again. This is the recognized Ward 3 counselor. This is who we recognize. Right. So anyone that wants to challenge that has to take that to court.
Okay. But I think it would be incumbent on you, if it's that way for him, then y'all should do it for Shabbat.
I'm not sure why you would say that. Yeah, but they're saying that they did something that they didn't do correctly. That is, so it's not recognized. Right? So there's no point in us.
Then why is he sitting on council doing legislation? He shouldn't be here.
He's not.
But
He may be here, but his vote would not be recognized. He is, okay, we're not gonna recognize him because it wasn't done properly. Our thing stops here with the law director. And if they have a problem, they gotta take us to court, and we're ready to go to court. That's simple.
Will he be able to sit up there with the rest?
I don't know, Wanda.
That's why she
So,
Okay, that's a good question.
so no, we will have a sergeant at arms here. And I'm not sure if you were here when I was first thrust into this position. We went through something exactly the same. And when it happened, there were two people who claimed they were on city council. We had a sergeant at arms, basically escort them into the pavilion area here. And then we had the council meeting. Yes. If need be, it will happen.
That's a great question, because you know, it happened last time. Ohio Supreme Court stated the council is their own judge. So, and they also stated the mayor has no authority to dictate what happens on council, two separate branches of government. That is written in their opinion. And what I think is happening is, because of this situation, I don't see a budget being passed. Because if they're saying he's not legal, and they're saying he's not legal, somebody got to go to court.
Yeah, but we're not saying he's not legal, Justin. Come on.
We're gonna be here with no budget. Now, I know McLean is a scholar, he's a Harvard graduate, one of the smartest people that I've heard of. I mean, even people who talk all negative spoke highly of him. He's a complete scholar.
Yeah, I watched. him
Until
from my
that's
house
figured
first.
out, and it's gotta be through the court, cause I think he makes a great counsel person. I don't talk good about people here, but I think he will make a great counsel.
Okay,
it's
so-
just Gotta be done in court, like I said.
Yeah, that's what's gonna
Yeah,
happen.
we saw.
Yeah.
So until it's solved, we have a legal opinion
Yeah.
that
and that
recognizes the Ward 3 counselor as Mark McLean. That is how the city is going to operate. Yes, sir.
Just a point. The mayor is over the police everywhere except in a council meeting in this room. In a council meeting in this room, the council, president and councilors, councilors tell the police who to remove, not the mayor. That's a hard one because we're used to certain things taking place, but East Cleveland's been making a mistake with that piece for years. The mayor calling people to be removed or to be arrested or whatever.
No,
That's incorrect. It's the council in here doing the council.
yes. So for a matter of clarity, as I've sat here, I've never had anyone removed.
So it was-
As I sat here as mayor, I've never had anyone removed, right? I understand exactly what you're saying, right? So no matter where a person sits, right? Not being recognized as the Ward 3 representative, right? Your vote simply won't count. Nothing you do will count because you're not recognized as the representative.
Since he's not recognized, I mean, his vote count.
Right.
Well, as every other council person.
Yes.
But he's sitting up there, and that other person is not sitting up there with council, but that'll confuse the public
So
on what's going on.
absolutely, but as was stated by our cameraman, I don't have the authority to remove him. So if the council tonight or at any time lets him sit up here, that's council's prerogative, right? But his vote won't count, right? Because he's not recognized.
And what if the president of the council has, something else to say about that, where it feels that his vote is accurate? Now we in limbo, going back and forth.
So then right, so then it comes back, because then it comes back to the administration, right? And once it gets back to the administration, his vote is not recognized because he's not the recognized counselor.
So you have. On there, and they say they had a forum. It comes back to you, right?
Be signed off on. So it passes because you need 4 votes, right? There are 5 counselors. Let's hope and pray that it has 4 recognized votes. 4 recognized counselors. You need 4 for an emergency.
But you don't need,
I'm just saying, this is how other people know what's going on, but I'm talking about other people.
This too will pass.
Yes.
That's what the public wants.
Yes.
To know. What's the holdup?
I mean, not, this problem will pass. I mean,
The limbo for the whole meeting, we want to be here for what we're here for.
yeah.
But
it doesn't have to be. There are at least four recognized counselors on the council who can pass the budget without Mr. McLean's vote, without Mr. Shabazz's vote.
Right. Right. So 4 recognized will get it done,
Right.
right? And I believe that all counselors will find it within themselves to pass something so that we can pay
Pay people.
the employees.
All right.
It is now 2 minutes to 4. We should be winding down. Are there any other further questions, comments, concerns? Yes, sir. What, and I want to see if our community development director has some words. He's been here the whole time.
Just, go ahead. I was going to say something. Never mind.
So it's just a conversation. You can feel free to say, okay,
Because council rules their meeting.
it is their meeting. I'm a guest at their meeting. Yes,
Exactly. No one else has jurisdiction. What they do, their meeting.
right.
So if the president said, we're gonna do this meeting like this, it has to go that way, or is it a syllabus on how the order is gonna go? Because the other day, you know, it didn't go in the order how it was supposed to go. No matter who's president, who's split president, but it's still that order supposed to be followed, correct?
Right,
And
right.
it wasn't followed. I'm just naming 3 times that it was an ethical error that night for that meeting.
Form change, you got to recall it.
So,
That's the whole recall thing.
Mr. Leach, you had anything you wanted to say?
I mean, they're holding up all the employees of the city money, because if that's in limbo, now they can't get anything passed. So if we're on a recall, what if they're still in limbo during that recall process, it still won't pass anything? Now it's 9 months later, they still haven't been paid. No one has been paid or taken care of. None of the city, bills has been taken care of or anything else.
Let's pray that it doesn't take that long. Yes, Noreen.
Just as a point, so we can make sure it's on record, is that community development has presented to council legislation for the action plan amendment. It's very important that the action plan be passed so that we can meet our timeliness issue. Currently, right now, we're working out a workout plan with HUD to make sure that we meet our timeliness, and that's because we didn't pay for the street projects that were completed. We have an invoice that's standing, that's about $1 million. Once we pay that $1 million, we'll be back in compliance. But anytime that the budget goes over 25% of the line item, we have to do a substantial change. As a record for the streets, in 2022, we bid the streets out in 2021. The streets came in at $644,000. We didn't get the streets done in that fall because we didn't want to rush it to make sure that the streets are done properly, because the asphalt plants closed sometime in November or December. So we said we'd wait till the spring to do the streets. The streets, the price increased from $644,000 to another $32,000 just because of pricing, because of COVID. Then and the streets that were passed and approved by council was Terrace, Delmont, Third, Page, and Forest Hills. After we demilled the streets were in such bad repair. And for Third Street, we had put in the budget to do about 1/3 or half of the street. Council approved and said that they wanted to do the entire street because the residents and the council president at the time said, can we do the entire street to make it complete? And we did it. So Terrace wound up going from $119,000 to $183,000. Delmont went from $139,000 to $216,000 because the catch basins, the sewers, and the street underneath was in such disrepair that we had to fix it. We didn't fix it totally the way it should be. We fix it to where we can make sure we try to stay under the budget as much as possible. Third Street was $130,000. Doing the entire street jumped it up to $359,967,000. Page was less. It only went up about $900. And Forest Hill that we're still waiting to do, and we've put it off because we under the same situation. We don't want to go out there and rush the street and make sure we do it properly. So Page is going to come in hopefully around up just $5,000 more than we anticipated.
What's the total amount for Page?
Page is $225,765.60.
And Forest Hill is the last one.
Yes, Forest Hill is the last one. Also on that, we had COVID money that we allocated, that council passed and said that we had rental assistance. I agree with some of the members on council that going through the Cleveland Housing Network wasn't the easiest for residents to get money for rental assistance. In doing that, any resident that needed assistance, we had them come up here and work with staff. We logged in, got them approved as best as possible. It wasn't the best system, but we weren't the only ones. Almost every suburb and first suburbs dealt with the Cleveland Housing Network. That was the lead of the county so that we can make sure we get the funds out. Those funds for rental assistance has stopped because the COVID pandemic has come to about an end. So those funds are no longer available. We put in a substantial change to move that line item to a line item that we can use to make sure we expense those funds before we lose them. So it's important that the legislation that community development has put together for council to look at, so we can pass it, so we can get back on our timeliness. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And just so that I can reiterate a little bit, so that you hear it again, we have to reappropriate those funds so that we can use those funds and not lose those funds, have to give those funds back, right? They need to be reappropriated so that we don't lose them. Say it again. They need to be reappropriated so we can use them, so we do not lose them. Now you know the story that they're gonna say if we do lose. They're gonna say it was the mayor's fault. They didn't say it was the mayor's fault. Now, this is the second mayor call meeting that I had, and that's been on the agenda to get done, right? Also, 2023, the city was founded in 1911. We are over 100 years old. I've been on many of these streets once they mill that top surface, and you see the red brick and you see the red brick crumbling. Many of you have been on your own personal street and a mysterious hole just comes in and it just is almost like a bottom and it just keeps going, right? You don't know that until you take that first layer off. Many of the employees and residents got to see what that looked like firsthand out here in the parking lot when we had a substantial change order as they took that first layer off. So, yes, sir.
I wanted to thank Charles for showing that. We'll be talking to some of the people, but I thank you for showing that about the other cities that says other, because I was confused too. I'm serious. I was confused. It was a lot of money, but to see all the other cities doing the same thing, and you explain, how that goes. I mean, I really don't see much problem with the other line item now. I thought that was just the practice here, so, but I think you should show that to the other council members, to let them know that this is not just what.
They already know
I'm saying,
that.
Yeah, we've been saying that for years, but we'll keep saying it. We'll keep saying it. Thank you for that.
Other spot for the road.
What do you mean?
There are other slots for unforeseen,
So the roads are paid out of CDBG money. So that's where that line item comes in. And as he alluded to, the money we were using for rental assistance not being used, it didn't get completely exhausted, I should say. Yeah, there was still some money left. So now we have to reappropriate it, take it out of that line item to then use it in another line item, roads. So that's how that will be taken care of. Yes, ma'am.
Being by the trickling of just every time there's something that, a meeting that's coming up, I will get an email, most of them packed, and be telling me that it's been canceled. And during the summer, there was other meetings that there was supposed to be going on and just come up and nobody's here.
So we kind of found out that the way that they got their little crooked system going on, don't believe what they say, come up with it. So Wanda and I decided to come up here, since I told her about the email, I said, check your email, Hank, check your email. Because somebody's saying that it's been canceled.
Did you,
Hadn't heard from
do you know who, can you identify that email address that it came from?
them. I got it right on.
So that address is the one we need to then find out who is behind that address. Who?
Patricia Mahovia.
So Bahoviak said that the 2:30 was canceled?
I've been telling you. Yeah, and then there was another one sent out where. Would you take same day at 6:30. I mean, meeting tonight, 7:30.
Okay, yeah, so the 2:30 was a mayor's meeting, so they can't cancel a mayor's call meeting. They can just not show up.
But this is what you're telling me, so in case, it's true, don't come. But we've gotten used to their pattern of doing things, and that's why we're here. Because I
Underhandedness.
was gonna bring Ms. Taylor up here too,
Uh-huh.
but we just come up here just to see. And that's the way they do it.
Yeah, so,
Any website, anything else you get is unofficial.
yes.
Even your best friend say you something. Don't believe it. Believe the city website. That's sunshine of law. They gotta
Post it, right.
24 hours in advance and list the things that's gonna be going on in the meeting.
Process and learning how things go. That's
Yeah,
how.
Right.
Website, that's what
But
the
if I
file-
Okay.
was officially by the mayor
Mhm.
of this meeting, it was okay. And then I knew common sensely, he
Right.
didn't send me an email and say that it's canceled.
Right.
Exactly.
So gamers.
Absolutely. So as we close out this mayor's community conversation, yes, yes.
Okay, since, Tracy and her cohort has been dismissed, who's gonna be taking the minutes?
So I'm not sure what council and the new council president has in store for council clerk and council. I don't know what, I can't remember what they call the other council person. The assistant clerk.
Right.
Deputy clerk, I actually feel bad for the person they bring in, thinking of what she did to that other poor woman. What was that lady's name? Oh, she did that woman so bad. Oh, she did that woman. You wouldn't do your worst enemy the way she brought her in here and twisted her around and then was pressing charges
Right.
on. Remember, she was pressing charges
She's
on
demoted. She's
for about
demoted.
6 hours. Oh, and then try to take her money from her. It was ridiculous how she did this. So I actually feel bad for the person that she's now going to bring in as the council clerk, but it is up to them to then hire the council clerk and then the assistant clerk. I'm sorry, Ms. Hatch, did you have one more thing?
Yes, well, the stimulus money, the program that you have going on for $3,000 hasn't been spent yet. Is that money still gonna be there? Is that gonna be shut off? Is that
So
an
the
issue?
assistant law director left, and maybe Charles might want to comment on it. But what I heard is that they're trying to cut all neighborhood group funding, all grass cutting, rodent, trees.
Wait a minute, what, I can't.
They're trying to. Uh-huh. I don't have a copy of the draft. They're gonna have to present that to you tonight. So if you come here at 7, they're gonna have to present it.
They give themselves a raise.
Right.
It's $16,000.
Right. And trying to end the HLG program. Those are things that I've been told. I haven't seen the document. That's just what I've been told.
And also,
Charles, is that what you got?
yeah, you need-
Be patient. Be patient. We are going to do our best to continue to provide quality of life resources to our residents. So I'm gonna ask now for the counselors to give some closing remarks, and then we'll close this mayor's community conversation, I guess is the best way to call it.
Again, I'll say, and thank you guys for coming. The most important thing is that we pay our police, we pay our fire, we pay our employees. It ain't about me being the president, and I tell people that we work together. And I told them 5 that approached me, called, they gonna press me. I said, why wouldn't I work with the mayor? Okay, and that's the biggest issue you say they have with you, Mike. You all right? But you work with the mayor, so why wouldn't I work with the mayor? So we've got to stick together. We got to make this work. Like the council says here, this will pass in a couple of months. We're gonna get past that. We gotta get this done for Mayor Ron Leash. We need to take care of it. We called 2 or 3 meetings with them and they wouldn't come. Come on. So we gotta do better than this.
Yes.
Yeah, it's an emergency meeting, and we bet, I tell you that, Wanda Jacobs, just a meeting at 7 o'clock, they better take care of business. I'll say that. Thank you. Right.
Councilman McLean, do you have any?
Yeah, don't want to hold you because I got another meeting to go to. And I guess you all do too.
Yes.
But stick with us. There can be no pleasure without pain.
Okay.
And this is the pain period.
Yes, very.
So be patient and we'll get it done as soon as we can and as efficiently as we can. So don't give up hope.
On that parade.
Charles, did you have anything you wanted to?
No, I mean, this is the appropriation. Was presented to them. This is a little bit even more to me, comparing it to some other cities. We're telling you salaries, fringe benefits. Other cities had other charges, other finances, same concept. Same
Okay.
concept.
Did Charles be there? So they won't have any.
So,
So they won't have any.
so
Well,
thank
he
you.
called, they
thank you
called
for
a
that.
meeting on a Friday at 7 o'clock. Come on.
I would
Right.
like to thank
Is it 7 or 7:30?
our
7.
7. I would like to thank our counselors for showing up. Charles, I'd like to thank our residents for showing up.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
leave you with this. Keep in mind, the appropriations Charles just put up is something that was given to council. The mayor's estimate was presented November 15th.
On
And
time.
And
on
we went
time.
through budget hearings. All departments came out and talked. These appropriations have been looked at and helped prepared by the fiscal oversight. We are in fiscal emergency, right? So we have oversight on our books. Our financials are online. If you want to look and see where we're at financially, it's online. You can go right there and look. So God bless you. God bless East Cleveland. Thanks again for coming out.
Thank you
We'll
guys
see
for
you.
coming. Good seeing you, Wanda. Shirley, good seeing you. Okay, all right.